That's why we work with you to solve problems like cost of living. How can we make life better, not quite burden lighter?
So I will start with number 1, water. Car parks. So next, ERP. Then number 4, SNCC. Number 5, gas. Then electricity. Then public transport. PAP, community foundation fees. Universities fees has also increased. Polytechnic and ITE is not excluded. Cash Shield Life. We have carbon tax introduced this year. Diesel they have announced. Digital services they announced. That's not enough. Sugar, they want a tax on sugar. Make our life more miserable with increasing the GST which they have announced.
All these increases resulted in the government collecting about $6 billion in budget surplus in 2016, 11 billion in 2017, and another $2 billion in 2018. Now that's a total of nearly $20 billion in the 3 years after the GE. If Tharman tells us that the government has got all these expenditure taken care of, then why do you implement all those tax increases which resulted in so much budget surplus? When you collected so much money, the tendency is for you to feel very rich. And when you feel rich, you tend to spend rich. And that is why they could feel no problem, no compunction in spending $800,000 on a rubber center, or $500,000 on a computer system that they said could not be integrated into the existing one, or $1,500 for a bus stop bench. But as I said, what have we become when Prime Minister pays himself $200,000 a month? And yet we have scenes like this. Or when the government sees no problem in blowing $40 million for a single National Day parade, but we have our elderly poor committing suicide in record numbers. Or we blow our youth Olympic Games budget by $300 million, and then they have the gall to turn around and say that if we give you back the CPF savings, you'll squander it. We have to cut the minister's pay to fund aid for the poor. When you take an average of all the ministers in the cabinet, our estimation that it's going to be a savings of between $10 to $12 million a year. And that's a conservative estimate. That could go into a pool, seed money to start it. Raising the income tax rate for the top 1%, SDP is proposing right now, is to bring this tax rate back up to 28%. Third, we have to ensure that our revenue collections are revenue neutral in our budget. We're going to increase some of the taxes, and some of them are legitimate tax raises. For example, like the carbon tax. But if you raise this amount, in order not to create even more of a burden for Singaporean taxpayers, you must make sure you mitigate some of the other taxes. To scrap GST for essential items. Things like medicine. Things like school supply. Sometimes we don't realize it, but for the lower income groups, every dollar that comes out of their pocket is painful for them. To offset that revenue cut, let's increase the GST for luxury items. The fifth item that we want to propose is to enact a minimum wage law. I cannot even imagine making $1,000 and having to scrimp by every month. And yet this government can tell you that you can even buy and own an HDB flat based on $1,000. Sixth, reinstate the estate duty. The SDP now proposes that the tax be brought back with exemption threshold of $20 million, both for citizens as well as non-citizens. Reduce healthcare costs. We cannot commercialize healthcare in Singapore. Lower HDB prices. Query some of our contractors, subcontractors. They will come out and tell you that the cost of the labor, material, whatever, okay, averages out to be about half of what Singaporeans are paying for their HDB flats right now. The other half is made up of land costs that the PAP says, that the government says it's selling to us. It costs the government little to nothing. You effectively halve the HDB prices right now. Right? That savings goes back into our CPF, and that then relieves the pressure of retirees. Return CPF savings in full. We will have an opt-in clause for those people who want to continue to let the government withhold, retain your CPF and then pay you by installments. Feel free to do so. Retirees need that savings. And the final proposal that we have, we need to stop this wasteful spending. The only way that we're going to stop this is to get an effective opposition who will go in and examine the documents, the records of all this, and not be afraid to question the ministers' on these amounts. Hold their feet to the fire. That's the basic, fundamental duty, the very least that an opposition can do in Parliament.